Hey there, welcome to the best damn sports show on YouTube and Streaming.com today. It is TXN Sports World. I am your host, Anthony Florio. I am joined by Michael Bullock. We are awaiting the presence of good old MF, Michael Fletcher. MF just sent us a audio message of just literally moments ago and advised that he is running late. So he said to start the show without him, but he will be here. So yes, so here tonight on TXN Sports World, big show tonight, as we are going to be previewing the first round of both the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs. If we have time, we will also get into week number 4 of the UFL, I beg your pardon. And then, time permitting again, maybe MF will have a recap of the UFC 300 pay-per-view. But nonetheless, let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right on in, and we're gonna get it started with our preview of the NBA playoffs. We've had some play-in action, obviously, and the Boston Celtics finally have a first-round opponent, and it's a familiar foe. It's the Miami Heat, and we will preview that series in a little bit, as that will kick off the Sunday slate of NBA playoff game ones. And the Oklahoma City Thunder are awaiting their first round opponent. It's either the Sacramento Kings or the New Orleans Pelicans. We'll find that out probably right around the end of the show or so. But nonetheless, let's dive on in to the series that will lead off the NBA playoff coverage. It'll tip off tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, and it will feature the number 5 seed in the East, the Orlando Magic, squaring off against the number 4 seed in the East, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers have the home court advantage in this series, and without any further ado, let's dive on into this first round matchup. This game will be on ESPN. Game 1 will be tomorrow at 1 p.m. on ESPN in Cleveland. Game 2 in Cleveland Monday night at 7 p.m. on NBA TV. Game 3 will be on Thursday, April 25th at 7 p.m. on NBA TV in Orlando. And then Game 4 next Saturday in Orlando, 1 p.m. on TNT. If a Game 5 is needed, it will be back in Cleveland on Tuesday, April 30th. If a 6th game is needed, it will be on Friday, May 3rd in Orlando. And a Game 7 would be on Sunday, May 5th in Cleveland. Time and network to be determined. So these two teams split their season series 2-2, each winning once on the other's court. They have not faced each other since February 22nd, and the smallest margin of victory in the 4 games was 7 points. The top storyline: similarities, size, and defense. These teams have a lot in common besides their proximity in the East standings, their split season series, and their playoff hunger. They both ranked in the NBA's top 10 defensively and in the lower half offensively, and with big bodies all around: Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Jonathan Isaac, Paolo Banchero. The scoring might drop significantly when postseason pace also factors in. Orlando ranked behind only Minnesota and Boston defensively and flexed that strength to a 21-2 record when holding opponents under 100 points. Cleveland, it didn't lose at all, going 14-0 when holding the other team under 100. Flip side was pretty even too. Magic were 2-12 when they could not crack 100. The Cavs 1-9. The Cavs fared better head-to-head with a 5.6 net rating in the 4 meetings. One notable edge was on from the perimeter, where Cleveland outscored Orlando by nearly 15 points a game on 3-pointers. It also outshot the Magic by percentage overall and from the arc while winning the battles on both boards. Keep your eyes on the Banchero-Mobley matchup. No one will go it alone in exclusive coverage, but Banchero and Mobley figure to see a lot of each other. The former was the number 1 pick in 2022 and already has made a little history. Banchero became the youngest player, 21 years and 154 days in NBA history, to lead his team in scoring, rebounding, and assists in a season. He also led the Magic in minutes, shots, and free throws, and followed up his Kia Rookie of the Year debut season with an all-star berth. Mobley, the number 3 pick in 2021, earned a spot on the all-defensive team last season, but didn't jump up again in year 3. He played in only 50 games, undergoing knee surgery that cost him 22 games in December and January, then missing almost 3 weeks in March with an ankle sprain. Many of his stats plateaued, and Mobley's limited season is a big reason why the Cavaliers flattened out too. Banchero's diverse offensive game matched against Mobley's defensive prowess should provide marquee minutes. The Orlando forward gives up an inch in height to the 6'11" Mobley, but has notable strength and 35 pounds on him. One more thing to watch for each team. For Cleveland, health. Cleveland has weapons if they can stay on the floor. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Mobley all fell short of 60 appearances, and they each missed one of the games against the Magic. Mitchell and Garland, however, averaged 27.3 and 26.7 points respectively in the series. The Cavs had more than 300 games missed to injury, but a week before tomorrow's opener and a typically leisurely schedule in the first round should benefit them. For the Magic, it's backcourt feistiness. Orlando doesn't get a lot of its scoring from its backcourt. Jalen Suggs and reserve Cole Anthony are the only guards to average double digits and against the Cavs. They put up about a third, combined 17.6 of what Mitchell and Garland posted. But their defense, bolstered by Gary Harris and coordinated with wing Franz Wagner, and the front line can be punishing. At 6'5" and 205, Suggs plays like the former prep football star he was, with playoff physicality likely to work in his favor. The one key number to know is 9.2%. The Magic shot 58.7%, 11th best in the paint, but had an effective field goal percentage of 49.5%, 28th, on shots from outside the paint. That 9.2% was the league's biggest such differential. The Magic ranked in the bottom 10 offensively for the 11th straight season, with their lack of perimeter shooting being their biggest issue. The Cavs took a step backward defensively this season, having ranked first on that end of the floor last season, but remained one of the best teams at defending the paint. They were one of 3 teams, the Boston Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder were the others, that ranked in the top 10 in both opponent field goal percentage in the paint, 55.1% fifth, and the lowest percentage of their opponent's shots that came in the paint, 48% ninth. If it goes all 7 games, Cleveland gets the final game at home. The Cavs have more spring experience than Orlando. They were in the play-in 2 years ago and lost to New York in the first round last year, but they're not exactly peaking at the right time. Since these teams last met, the Cavaliers have gone 12-16. Orlando is 16-10 since that night, improving by 13 victories over last season to thrust Jamal Mosley into Coach of the Year conversations. The Magic are in the playoffs for the first time since 2020 and have not won a series since 2010. But the guys playing well for them now know nothing of that. Very tough series to call, but I do believe the Cleveland Cavaliers will win this series in 7 games, but I would not at all be surprised if Orlando somehow stole this series. This was a very tough series to call. I've been going back and forth on this one literally since this matchup was announced. So give me the Cleveland Cavaliers in 7 games. But like I said, don't be surprised if Orlando wins either. Good old MF Michael Fletcher has arrived, and MF, you didn't miss much of anything. We're starting our NBA playoff preview with the series that's going to jumpstart all of it tomorrow at 1:00 on ESPN. 4-5 matchup in the East. Number 4 seed is Cleveland. Number 5 seed is Orlando. I got Cleveland in 7. What says you?
I actually have to agree. I think Cleveland Cavaliers is going to win this one in 7 games as well. The main factor is that, like you said, the playoff experience. I think that's going to be just enough to get them past by, and I believe Cleveland will win the series as well. So, Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me to call as well. I mean, I've been going back and forth as well, but I'm going to make it unanimous. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers to win it in 7 games. But do not be surprised if the Orlando Magic somehow pull this one off. So Cleveland in 7. So let's move on to the next series.
All right, and the next series will be tipping off at 3:30 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. on ESPN, Western Conference. And it's the 3-6 matchup. The number 3 seed is the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they're going to be squaring off against the number 6 seed, the Phoenix Suns. Game 1 in Minnesota tomorrow, 3:30 on ESPN. Game 2 back in Minnesota Tuesday, 7:30 on TNT. Game 3 will be next Friday in Phoenix at 10:30 on ESPN. Game 4 will be Sunday, April 28th in Phoenix at 9:30 on TNT. If a Game 5 is needed, it'll be back in Minnesota on Tuesday, April 30th. Game 6 will be in Phoenix on Thursday, May 2nd. And if a winner-take-all Game 7 is needed, it'll be in Minnesota on Saturday, May the 4th. TNT looks to be the network of choice for Game 7, but Game 5 and 6, time and network to be determined. So, all right. So with that being said, MF, 3-6 matchup in the West. The Minnesota Timberwolves, number 3 seed. Can you believe that? Going up against the number 6 seed Phoenix Suns.
Very dangerous matchup for Minnesota because of the fact that you got a 3-headed monster, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. This could be a very interesting matchup, to say the very least. However, with the Minnesota Timberwolves, they are not afraid of the moment. Anthony Edwards, I apologize, and Rudy Gobert has been the main focal point of why Minnesota has been so good this year. They just feel like they're a team of destiny and everything else. So this is going to be a back and forth battle. But if you're looking for maybe a possible upset here, you may get it. However, I think Minnesota is just absolutely deep, especially with the bench play and everything else. Give me the Minnesota Timberwolves to win this series in 6 games, knocking out the Phoenix Suns and moving on to the next round of the playoffs. So I got Minnesota winning. Michael Bullock, it is yours.
Yeah, I just been so impressed with this Minnesota team. I mean, they really impressed me. They aren't afraid of the moment, that young team. But yeah, I mean, this could be a tough one for them. I mean, they got to deal with that 3-headed monster with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. But as we just said, they're not afraid of the moment. I think they're going to rise to the occasion. And I'm going to go with the Minnesota Timberwolves to win this series. And I got them winning it in I'm going to go 6 games. So it's yours, Florio.
This seems on the surface a role reversal 3-6 matchup, if only because the lower seeded Suns hold star power, and then Kevin Durant, a proven champion over the Wolves. Also, the Suns swept the 3-game season series by a total of 47 points. And so, while the Wolves have home court advantage, that might be their only evident edge. Their top-ranked defense works better against 28 other teams. This is a playoff series. The basketball world, for what it's worth, will favor the team that's an underdog only in the seeding. The top storyline is, can the Wolves handle the Suns' momentum? Nobody enjoyed a better April than the Suns, except the exhausted Easter Bunny. They went 10-4 to conquer a tough finishing schedule, beating the Wolves, Nuggets, Cavs, Clippers, Pelicans, and Kings, to dodge the SoFi play-in tournament and a first-round matchup with defending champion Denver. The Suns are starting the postseason with the wind at their back. All the legitimate issues regarding their lack of depth and a functional point guard were placed aside. The playmaking and shot-making skills of Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal are supreme and often overwhelm this team's weaknesses. This creates an obvious challenge for the defensive-minded Wolves. Minnesota thrived on that side of the court all season, and it bailed them out during Karl Anthony Towns' injury absence. Speaking of the obvious, the Wolves do own an ace card. Anthony Edwards could provide the starriest player in this series. Could that be enough for Minnesota? Keep your eyes on the resurgence or rust from Towns. Towns missed 18 games with a meniscus tear, playing only twice between March 4th and when this series begins tomorrow. Was that enough reps for a player the Wolves will heavily lean on offensively? Before the injury, Towns was his efficient self, shooting 50% overall and 41% from deep. That's key in this series. The Wolves might need to keep up scoring-wise to a degree with the Suns. Towns is their only player besides Edwards, who's a proven 20-point getter. But again, here in the playoffs, he'll need to go from 0 to 60 with all the missed playing time. We'll know soon enough whether he is refreshed by it or rusted. And one more thing to watch for each team. For Minnesota, Rudy Gobert will be the favorite to win Kia Defensive Player of the Year, which would be a record-tying fourth. His rim protection was solid all season. In terms of intimidation, as much, if not more, than shot blocking. And he was stellar on the boards, pulling down 13 a game. That said, the Suns are well-equipped to, quote-unquote, hunt Gobert and try to pull him away from the paint with timely switches. You can imagine Durant and Booker smiling devilishly at the thought of isolating on Gobert off screens set by Yusef Nurkic. Gobert has improved at defending on the perimeter, however, and at times this could backfire on Phoenix. Still, it's not his strength. The Suns, given the ability of their stars to score off the dribble, will exploit it as much as possible. For the Suns, their approach to getting buckets is very old school. Durant, Booker, and Beal are masters at the mid-range as well as being above average from deep. Keeping all three in check is tricky. As a bonus, they also bring Grayson Allen and his 45% accuracy from three-point range. This team lives on the perimeter and forces teams to use double teams against Durant and Booker. Will the Wolves refuse to fall for that trap? It'll be up to Naz Reid and or Jaden McDaniels to play KD straight up. Yeah, good luck with that. KD just finished yet another remarkable season and devoured better defenders than them in the postseason. The one key number to know is 64.8%. The Wolves, in their 41 road games, allowed their opponents to take only 64.8% of their shots from the restricted area or three-point range. That was the league's lowest opponent rate as Minnesota ran its opponents off the three-point line. And with the Defensive Player of the Year favorite manning the paint, kept them from getting to the rim, forcing opponents to take the least efficient shots on the floor. Those between the restricted area and the three-point line is a big reason why the Wolves had the league's #1 defense by a wide margin. Of course, no team is more comfortable taking those shots than the Suns, who took 37.4% of their road shots, the highest rate in the league between the restricted area and the three-point line. Kevin Durant at 7.7 and Devin Booker at 7.2 ranked first and fourth in pull-up two-point jumpers a game, and they combined to shoot better than 50% on those attempts. The Suns' ability to shoot off the dribble forces Gobert and the Wolves' weak side defenders, who will have to help more at the rim to play out of their comfort zone. As it swept the season series, Phoenix scored almost 124 points per 100 possessions, best mark against the Wolves for any Western Conference opponent. The Wolves had the second best season in franchise history, and their reward is getting the worst possible first-round matchup. They're spooked by the Suns, who led by double figures during the second halves of every meeting this season. Edwards will need an epic nightly performance just to keep it suspenseful, and he might. Gentlemen, I respectfully disagree with you. I have the Phoenix Suns winning this series, and I have them winning it in 6 games. So with that, let's move on to our next series. Back to the Eastern Conference. It'll tip off tomorrow night at 6 p.m. on ESPN. 2 versus 7 matchup in the Eastern Conference. The #2 seed in the East, the New York Knicks. And they're going to be squaring off against the #7 seed, the Philadelphia 76ers. We're going old school here, baby. Old school playoff rivalry from back in the 70s and 80s. Game 1 tomorrow night, Madison Square Garden, 6 p.m. on ESPN. Game 2 will be Monday night at 7:30, back in MSG on TNT. Series then shifts to Philadelphia. Game 3 will be on Thursday in Philly, 7:30 on TNT. Game 4 in Philly, Sunday, April 28th, a 1 p.m. tip-off on ABC. If a Game 5 is needed, it will be back in New York on April 30th. Game 6 back in Philly on May 2nd. Game 7, winner-take-all, MSG, May 4th. Michael Bullock, we started with you. 2 versus 7 in the East. The New York Knicks, #2 seed, if you can imagine that. Unbelievable. Biggest surprise in the NBA this season. Squaring off against the #7 seed, the Philadelphia 76ers. 10th time these teams are meeting in the playoffs, but they're first since all the way back in 1989. Wow.
Man, it's been a long time, but I know that This is not an easy series for me to go with here because here's the one thing that really is going to hurt the Knicks. I mean, yes, you got Jalen Brunson, but you don't have Julius Randle, who is another key contributor. And another key here when it comes to the Sixers, the reigning MVP, Joel Embiid. If he's back to being that Joel Embiid that won the MVP last season, and you also got Tyrese Maxey, who's really starting to come along. And I think this could be tough for the Knicks to overcome here. So, but you know what? I mean, look, it's tough for me to go against a guy who is the reigning MVP. So, I know I should be going with the Knicks, but I just got this funny feeling. I got to go with I think the Sixers are going to somehow win this series. I think Embiid's going to be back to that MVP that we were used to, that we saw from last season. Tyrese Maxey has really improved, and this team is just so much different than last year. I mean, with all the drama, especially when they finally got rid of James Harden. So I think this is a different team going into the playoffs this year. So I should go with the Knicks, but I'm going to reluctantly go with the 76ers to win this series in 7 games. So it is yours, Florio.
What a difference 3 or 4 victories make. The Knicks won 50 games to jump into the Eastern Conference's number 2 seed over Milwaukee with 49 wins, Cleveland with 48, and 3 other teams that finished with 47 wins. One of them was Philadelphia, which had to battle on this past Wednesday night with Miami in the SoFi play-in tournament to secure the number 7 seed. Meanwhile, New York has been off since Sunday. Knicks won the season series 3-1, capitalizing on 76ers center Joel Embiid's absence from 3 of the meetings. The Knicks' victories came by margins of 36, 14, and 27 points. And like I said, as I said when I was setting it up for Bullock, this will be the 10th playoff meeting of these franchises, but their first since all the way back in 1989. The top storyline is the big man. It's been said that the second best team in the East this spring has not been New York, Milwaukee, or any of the other guaranteed seeds lined up behind Boston. The second best team has been Philadelphia with Joel Embiid. That Sixers squad went 31-8 in the games he played. Most of that came in the first half of Philadelphia's schedule. It was 25-6 when he played, 3-7 when he didn't. Then he missed 2 months due to his left knee injury. The Sixers sank in the standings, and despite Tyrese Maxey and others stepping up, knew their postseason fate would hang on the 7-footer's availability. He's back now, and though he is not in peak condition, he did have 6 games to ramp up for this series. He's still a load in the leisurely pace of this series. 9 days to play the first 4 games will be the best thing short of a spa stay to ease his aches. New York has its own big man back in Mitchell Robinson. He and Isaiah Hartenstein will do what they can to hold their ground. The Knicks' best overall defender, OG Anunoby, will best help elsewhere. So what are they to? Defy the trend in the playoffs and rev up their play. Though New York ranked last in pace, pushing the ball is its best chance of wearing out Embiid. Forcing him to play defense also is key. Then win the minutes he sits. Keep your eyes on the swarm to slow Brunson. There is no Jalen Brunson stopper on Philadelphia's roster, or on most other teams, frankly. But the 76ers have several players who can take turns in the tank against him, throw in different looks and fresher legs at the Knicks' motor. Perimeter guys aplenty, from Tyrese Maxey and Kyle Lowry to Kelly Oubre Jr., DeAnthony Melton, and Nicholas Batum can pester him and spread their fouls if all else fails. It's unlikely they'll shut him down, but even a little dip in production could throw New York's offense out of whack. Brunson averaged almost 29 points and shot 48% overall and 40% from three-point range this season. Against Philadelphia, those numbers drooped to 22.3 points, 40% from overall, and 30% from three. He is not on anyone's Kia MVP ballot at that level. The one more thing to watch for each team for New York Josh Hart. The Hart the Knicks got against Philadelphia was the best Hart. The guy who averaged 12.3 points, 14.3 rebounds, and 5.3 assists while playing 39 minutes. He'll be as essential in this series as in their 4 regular season meetings. Get ready for a nosebleed from Hart's on-off numbers. In the 156 minutes he was on the floor against Philly, New York had an 81.5 defensive rating. In the 36 he sat, it was 137.7. Hart's net rating, 57.7. And for the 76ers, Tobias Harris versus Nick Batum. Harris, the 76ers veteran forward, was at his best this season in the 22 games that Batum, an even more veteran wing, didn't play. About 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. But Batum, wrapping up his first season in Philadelphia, helped the team go 36-24 when he played, compared to 11-11 otherwise. Batum was more essential in Philadelphia's play-in victory. He scored a season-high 20 points, including 6 for 10 from behind the arc. Harris, 9 points on 4 of 10 shooting. And the key number to know is 24.5%. According to Second Spectrum tracking, the Knicks took 24.5% of their shots in the last 6 seconds of the shot clock this season. League's highest rate by a wide margin, with the Sixers ranking second at 22.6%. Over 2 series in last year's playoffs, Philadelphia took an amazing 30.8% of its shots in the last 6 seconds of the shot clock. Late clock shots are generally not good shots. As a whole, the league had an effective field goal percentage of just 47.5% in the last 6 seconds of the shot clock, compared to 55.2% in the middle 12 and 60.8% in the first 6. But the playoffs are typically played at a slower pace than the regular season. In a way, these teams have been playing playoff-style basketball all year and should be comfortable playing late in the clock, though they were both a little below the league average regarding effective field goal percentage in late clock situations. We can expect a lot more of those in this series, and the winner could be the team that executes best with little time to spare. The casual analysis of New York is that, like every Tom Thibodeau coached team before this one, it plays harder during the regular season than many opponents. That edge fades when those rivals dial up the playoff intensity, and Tibbs' groups seem to lack an extra gear. But with Anunoby to put out fires, they were 20-3 when he played, and Brunson as the little engine that does. The Knicks should be glad they outworked their way to the high seed. Home court advantage at Madison Square Garden could make the difference in a series ripe to go to the max. Bullock, I agree with you. This series is going to go 7 games. However, I have the New York Knicks winning it in 7 games. So Bullock's got Philly. I've got New York, both in 7. MF, you're the tiebreaker. Are you going with me in New York, or are you going to go with Bullock in Philly?
The first series was absolutely the Cleveland Orlando series. You guys were saying it was racking your brain and was going back and forth. This series got me racking my brain, making me go back and forth. And it can go either way. That's how great this battle is. There is no clear-cut favorite here. I kind of feel like it got to go to the New York Knicks. And the thing is that, like you said, normally the Knicks, they are really good at a regular season, and then they struggle at home. Yes, the Julius Randle injury, it's going to be massive. That really is going to hurt the Knicks. But it looks like they've played better since the injury. So maybe it might be a better thing that happened, because it looks like they really rely on Anunoby, and I really think he's going to be a factor. Yes, Joel Embiid is going to be a monster. He's going to get his points. He's going to get his rebounds. He's going to be thrashing and going crazy. But can you keep Maxey off the line? Can you keep the rest of Philly dangerous? One-dimensional team, are you going to be able to do that? And can Brunson get off? Can, Obi Toppin? He's going to be a factor in this series as well. So I'm actually with Anthony Florio here. Yes, it's going to go 7, but I'm going to go with the New York Knicks. to knock out the Philadelphia 76ers. Let me tell you, boys, this is, if it wasn't because of maybe another series that I got in mind that would be our series, this would probably be the series I wanted to cover. The Knicks and the Sixers, because of that old school feel. I really feel like this would have been my kind of series, more than anything else. So, Anthony, back to you.
Right click. All right, and we'll get into our final first round series that tips off tomorrow. And it'll be over on ABC, all of the Saturday night game of the week. A rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals. And it's the 2 versus 7 matchup. The number 2 seed in the Western Conference, the Denver Nuggets, squaring off against the number 7 seed, the Los Angeles Lakers. Easily the series of the first round, the most intriguing first round series in the Western Conference, no question. Game 1 tomorrow night, 8:30 on ABC in Denver. Game 2 also in Denver, Monday night, 10 p.m. on TNT. Series shifts to Los Angeles. Game 3, Thursday, 10 p.m. on TNT. Game 4 next Saturday, 8:30 on ABC. Both those games in Los Angeles. Game 5 would go back to Denver, Monday, April 29th. Game 6 in Los Angeles, Thursday, May 2nd. And a Game 7 in Denver, Saturday, May 4th. A rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals awaits. If Denver's 3-0 regular season against the Los Angeles Lakers serves as any indication, we should expect another 4-0 Nuggets sweep over the Lakers in this year's opening round. Los Angeles has not tasted victory against the Nuggets since December of 2022. Although the defending champs lumbered into the postseason in 2023, losing 5 of their last 7 games to close the season, this year's squad enters the playoffs having won 6 of their last 8. The top storyline, it's Lakers Nuggets Part 2 in the playoffs. So we get another postseason series featuring stellar bigs and the 2-time Kia MVP Nikola Jokic going head-to-head against Anthony Davis, as well as other stars such as LeBron James and Jamal Murray. The matchup between these teams in last season's Western Conference Finals was widely viewed as highly competitive. Ultimately, we all watched a clean sweep. Denver's largest margin of victory in that series was just 8 points, and the Lakers fell by 2 points in the decisive Game 4. Luckily for Los Angeles, its play-in tournament victory Tuesday over New Orleans bought it some needed time off ahead of Game 1 to face a Denver team coming off nearly a week of rest. Keep your eyes on Jamal Murray. In case you forgot, Murray averaged 32.5 points and nearly 3 steals, dropping 30 of 37 points in the opening half of Game 3 for Denver's largest margin of victory in last year's series. It marked one of the most efficient postseason series in league history, considering Murray shot 52.7% from the field, 40.5% from deep, and 95% from the free throw line. Murray's 50-40-90 line registered as just the 11th in a playoff series for a player averaging 30 points or more. What's more is Murray has now done that twice. Remember the bubble in 2020? The one more thing to watch for each team. For the Lakers, D'Angelo Russell recently said, "Public humiliation has done nothing but mold me into the killer that you see today." Game 1 of last year's series certainly met the threshold for humiliation. Denver played Russell off the floor in Game 1. He shot 4 of 11 for 8 points and played just 8:45 in the second half. The Lakers can't afford another slow start from him. And for the Nuggets, Denver is missing veteran glue guys in Jeff Green and Bruce Bowen, who were key contributors to last season's championship run. So youngsters such as Christian Braun and Peyton Watson will be counted upon to step into those roles. The Nuggets expected as much and groomed them during the season for more responsibility. The postseason is a different animal, though. One key number to know, 18 and 15. This is the series for which three-pointers will mean the least. The Nuggets were the only team that had a winning record, 18 and 15, in games in which they were outscored from three-point range this season. The Lakers, meanwhile, had the most wins, 23 and 29, when being outscored from deep. Denver at 35.2% and LA at 35.8%, ranked 30th and 28th, respectively, in the percentage of their shots that came from three-point range. And those rates were even lower, 32.9% and 31% over the 3 regular season meetings. Shots from beyond the arc won't be meaningless, of course. Lakers won their play-in game by 4 points, outscoring the Pelicans by 15 from 3-point range. And a big reason they had the league's third-ranked offense over the last half of the season is that they went from shooting 35.7% from beyond the arc over their first 41 games, which was 20th, to shooting 39.5%, second over their last 41. Nuggets, however, swept the season series with their point differential from 3-point range plus 27, almost matching the overall mark plus 30. Perimeter shots matter, but more than any other, this series will be determined inside the arc. Nikola Jokic averaged a triple-double against Anthony Davis last year in the playoffs, and there's no reason to expect a drop-off this time. Los Angeles lacks depth and the firepower in the starting group to keep up with Denver's experienced core. The Nuggets finished the last regular season 22-23 in a slump. They entered this postseason rolling. This won't be close. Denver wins in a clean 4-0 sweep. MF, what says you? Denver, Lakers, conference final rematch.
I disagree with the fact that it's going to be a sweep. I do believe the Lakers could get 1. I could even see them get 2. I don't see them winning the series. I got Denver winning the series in 5 or 6. I don't believe it's going to be a sweep because I don't think LeBron and AD is going to allow it to be a sweep. I think it could be one of those where the first 2 will go to Denver, the Lakers get the next 2, but then Denver slams the door in 5 and then slams the door emphatically on the Lakers in Game 6 at Crypto, and that's where it ends. I got the Lakers losing the series in 6, and Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, well, I'm in agreement that the Nuggets will win the series, but I'm with Anthony Florio. I think this is going to end in a sweep. I mean, they're too damn good. I mean, they're the defending champs for nothing. It's no disrespect to Anthony Davis, LeBron James, but I just don't see how anyone else can really step up for them. So when you got a team like Denver that can just dominate, so Nuggets win the series, it's going to be a clean sweep. So next series, Florio.
All right, Bullock, here we go. And ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the Sunday slate of game ones. And it will start Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. We go from a Western Conference Finals rematch to an Eastern Conference Finals rematch. 1 versus 8. The best team in the NBA this season, the number 1 seed, the Boston Celtics, squaring off once again against the number 8 seed, Miami Heat. Game 1, Sunday afternoon, 1 p.m. from the TD Garden in Boston. Game 2, Wednesday in Boston, 7 p.m. Game 3 will be next Saturday at 6 p.m. in Miami. Game 4 will be Monday, April 29th in Miami. If a Game 5 is needed, it will be in Boston on Wednesday, May 1st. A Game 6, if needed, will be on Friday, May 3rd in Miami. And a winner-take-all Game 7 would be back in Boston on Sunday, May 5th. MF, unfortunately, the Miami Heat, despite no Jimmy Butler, you would think that they would be easy pickings for the Chicago Bulls. But no, Miami.
Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, they played out of their minds tonight.
112-91.
Absolutely. 15-point lead after the first quarter. Yeah, goodbye. Game over.
Yeah. So here we go, MF. One more time. Miami, Boston, and I was talking to and Bullock and I talked about this during our SmackDown chat tonight. We talked about this series for a moment. Yes, there still is cause for concern with the Miami Heat, despite the fact that there is no Jimmy Butler. But this is a much different Celtics team than last year. This is a Celtic team on a mission. Best record in the NBA. And they got revenge on their mind, and they like the Michigan Wolverines football team and Cody Rhodes looking to finish their own story from 2 years ago.
Okay. As far as the finishing the story part goes, I kind of feel like it's too early to say that that's the, I mean, for me, yes, this first round is exercising the demons because of what happened a year ago. Everybody thought Boston was going to go to the finals, especially after they came back to win that game and force the game 7 on Miami. Going back to Boston with everything going their way, the momentum was on their side, and then out of nowhere, Jason Tatum goes down, injured. First minute of the game, he went down and out. And that ended any hopes for the Boston Celtics to win the Eastern Conference Final and let alone get to the NBA Finals. Now, nobody really knows if they were going to win that series because Denver was on the other side. And the way Denver was playing, I don't think anybody was stopping Denver that year. I don't care who the hell you were. Even the Boston Celtics, I would have said there would have been no chance in hell that the Celtics would have won that series against Denver. I'm sorry. Just being real honest with you folks. This time around, Miami lost their biggest player. They lost Jimmy Butler. And Butler most likely will not play in this series. And it didn't matter if Butler was going to play or not. Boston was going to win this series regardless. Now, I will openly admit, I think Miami will get at least one game. Hell, I'll even go as far to say I think Miami steals game 1. Boston was probably going to be out of sync, out of whack. They've been gone for a week or so. The way Miami's been playing, they absolutely, here's the crazier thing. They made reservations already. But before this game tonight, they made plans to fly out to Boston tonight to head to Boston to get there by tomorrow. They knew they were going to be here. They wanted the Boston Celtics. They don't care about them being the best team in the league, and they're not going to care about them going into TD Garden. So I believe in my heart of hearts that Boston's going to lose game 1. They're going to lose game 1. I'm sorry. They're going to lose game 1. However, that will be the moment that the Celtics would say, okay, you're dead. And they are going to annihilate the Miami Heat in a gentleman's sweep. I'm calling for 5, but it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. Boston will give them 1, and then they're going to wipe the floor right out of the Miami Heat. This is going to be a massacre more than anything else. The Boston Celtics are too strong. They're too powerful. 3-point wise, they're great defensively. They will shut down Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. Unfortunately, in game 1, they won't because of the fact that I believe they're going to use that momentum that they did on Chicago, and they're going to take it out on Boston. They're going to catch Boston because of the time off. I think they're going to catch them because of the fact that Miami's going to be geared up, ready for a fight, and they're going to punch Boston in the mouth. Boston's probably going to give them like, okay, we gave you that, you're dead. That's the mentality I believe it's going to be. So that's my prediction more than anything else. 5-game gentleman sweep. Celtics move on to the next round. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I mean, and when I don't know, it's the Celtics and the Heat. I mean, part of me was like, I don't know. I mean, I still think the Celtics are going to win the series, but we've seen this before. I mean, last year, Miami was the number 8 seed. Celtics were the number 2 seed. people thought, oh, Celtics were going to win that series. But Miami they went into the series like, we're sick and tired of the disrespect. We're sick and tired of people overlooking us. And we gave the Celtics fits before. And yes, there is no Jimmy Butler, but you still got Bam Adebayo. You still have Tyler Hero. You got the veteran presence of Kevin Love. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like they play that disrespect card every time, where nobody respects us, nobody gives us a chance, and nobody knows that more than their head coach Eric Spoelstra. So I still got the Celtics winning it, but I'm gonna go 6 games here. I mean, this Miami team is gonna be they're gonna be feisty, and I think they're gonna give them fits. I don't know why. It's just because of the history, and we saw this last year. They were sick and tired of the disrespect, and we saw what happened. So Celtics will still win, but it's not going to be easy. So it's yours, Florio.
Yeah, I'm going to make it unanimous as well. I got Boston winning the series as well. I don't have a full-on preview of this because obviously this came about tonight, and it's going to be the same way for the Oklahoma City series as well. So, but yeah, I'm very high on this Boston Celtics team, and and our dear friend Brian Keenan, he is also very high on this Boston Celtics team. He is very excited. And I told Bullock this during our SmackDown chat. This is the best and most dominant Celtics team I've seen since the 2008 team. The team that had Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen. And they went on to win the whole thing, including, of course, the most dominant championship clinching victory of all time when they put away the Lakers, Game 6 in 08 in the Garden. So, but I'm telling you, this Celtics team is a different animal. This time with Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday, and the last 2 games of the regular season, meaningless throwaway games against the Charlotte Hornets and the Washington Wizards, they sat all of their starters, and their bench players absolutely dominated. Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, just to name a couple. And if they could do that with no starters on the floor whatsoever, I'm telling you guys, this Celtics team, they're the real deal. And I think they could, and I think they're the team to beat. I really do. So, and we could call this their revenge tour. And they would love to start off the quest for number 18 by paying back the team that ended their season in heartbreaking fashion 1 year ago on their floor, mind you. So I have the Boston Celtics winning this series. The Jimmy Butler injury is going to be a major reason why. So somewhere between 5 and 6, I'll go with that. But Boston is most certainly winning this series. All right, so we move on now to the second series of Sunday. It's a 4 versus 5 matchup in the Western Conference. The number 4 seed is the Los Angeles Clippers. They're going to be squaring off against the number 5 seed, the Dallas Mavericks. Los Angeles with the home court advantage. First 2 games in Los Angeles. Game 1, Sunday afternoon, 3:30 on ABC. Game 2, Tuesday night at 10 o'clock on TNT. Series then shifts to Dallas for games 3 and 4. Game 3 is next Friday night in Dallas, 8 o'clock on ESPN. Game 4, next Sunday afternoon, 3:30 on ABC. If a Game 5 is needed, it's in Los Angeles on Wednesday, May 1st. Game 6 in Dallas on Friday, May 3rd. And a winner-take-all Game 7 would be in Los Angeles on Sunday, May 5th. Michael Bullock, we started with you. 4 seed LA Clippers, 5 seed Dallas Mavericks. Who you got in this series?
Yeah, this is going to be a really good series. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this Dallas Mavericks team. I mean, with what do you got? Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. I mean, yeah, I think they could give this Clippers team fits. So I think it's going to be a really good series. I think this is going to go the distance, and I think somehow, some way, the LA Clippers will find a way to win this series. So, Clippers in 7. It is yours, Florio.
The Clippers won the regular season series 2-1, but the clubs last met back in December. LA understands Dallas is now a vastly different team due to athletic additions at the trade deadline that juiced up a Mavs team already led by one of the NBA's most lethal scorers. These teams haven't met in the playoffs since 2021. LA ousted Dallas in 7 in the first round that year and has ushered out the Mavericks in the last 2 postseasons they've met. The top storyline is the star-studded stage. What better place than Los Angeles to start such a star-studded series in the opening round? We're going to see the likes of, get this lineup, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Paul George, and Russell Westbrook. Between those 6, we're talking about a combined 47 all-star nods, 2 Kia MVPs, 2 NBA Finals MVPs, and 6 scoring titles. As star-studded as this affair is, keep in mind it's the NBA playoffs. That means some of the stars will shine brightly, while others will wilt in the spotlight on one of the game's grandest stages. Keep your eyes on the tactics LA uses to slow down Luka Doncic. Limiting the Dallas superstar's impact will undoubtedly be priority number 1 for the Clippers. We know Coach Tyronn Lue is one of the league's top tacticians. Ultimately, though, it's the players that must execute the plan. That won't be easy against an offensive maven in Doncic, who routinely destroys defenses as a scorer and facilitator. The athletic lob-snatching additions of Daniel Gafford and P.J. Washington also help, along with his future Hall of Fame backcourt mate Kyrie Irving. Who draws the assignment of Doncic? Leonard? George? Who checks Irving? Lue will deploy multiple strategies to keep Dallas' stars off balance and guessing. If Leonard is healthy, Doncic is in for a tough matchup. But don't sleep on Westbrook's tenacity as a defender either. The one thing to watch for each team for Dallas, we've watched Dallas transform from a team reliant on the three-pointer to one committed to consistently stacking stops. The new additions play a role in that, as well as a tweak to their starting lineup that added Washington, Gafford, and Derrick Jones Jr. Dallas's new style of play should translate into postseason success. Let's see how that goes. For the Clippers, the injury situation is not ideal. Harden is dealing with a foot ailment, and Leonard is battling an inflamed right knee. Fully healthy, the Clippers possess enough talent to slow Dallas's high-octane offense. But what LA lacks in health, it could perhaps compensate for with experience. Harden, Leonard, and George have played a combined 405 postseason games. The number to know is 8.4. Taking away their last 2 games in which they rested both Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, the Mavs were 8.4 points per 100 possessions better after the trade deadline, plus 8.3, second best than they were before it at minus 0.1 and 17th. Biggest improvement in the league by a wide margin, and the much bigger improvement was on defense, where the Mavs ranked 22nd before the deadline and 5th between the deadline and those last 2 games. Historically, there's a bigger correlation between playoff success and how a team played early in the regular season than how it played late, and the Clippers were the better team in the season's first and middle thirds. But the Mavs' deadline trades made an impact with their new starting lineup, outscoring opponents by 15.5 points per 100 possessions, 4th best mark among 37 lineups that played at least 100 minutes after the deadline. Doncic and the Mavs ran off a 16-2 record near the end of the regular season before coasting to the finish line for extra rest ahead of the playoffs. Still, Dallas is carrying real momentum into the postseason against the banged-up Clippers. Yes, the Mavs are legit. They're quietly the team nobody wants to see in these playoffs. Michael Bullock, I respectfully disagree with you. I had the Dallas Mavericks winning this series, and I have them winning this series in 6 games. So give me Dallas to win. MF, tiebreaker again. Who do you go with?
LA Clippers, and I'm going to go in 7. This is the team that I believe is the most powerful team out there, the most underrated team. Everybody talks about the Lakers. Everybody talks about the Mavericks. Everybody talks about all the creme a la creme. The thing is, for the last, I want to say 5 years, the LA Clippers has always been that team that's been really, really good, but never got out of their own way. I feel like, yes, the injuries are going to be a factor, but I think they're able enough and good enough that if it goes in a long series, which I think this will, I think they got enough of the firepower and the horsepower that's going to get them over the hump and knock out the Mavericks. I got the Clippers winning it in 7. It goes the distance. Florio, is back to you.
Next Sunday series, it's the final first round series in the Eastern Conference, the 3 versus 6 matchup. The number 3 seed is the Milwaukee Bucks, and they will square off against the number 6 seed, the Indiana Pacers. First 2 games at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. Game 1, Sunday night, 7 p.m. on TNT. Game 2 in Milwaukee, Tuesday night at 8:30 on NBA TV. Series shifts to Indiana for games 3 and 4. Game 3 is next Friday at 5:30 on ESPN. And then game 4 next Sunday, 7 p.m. TNT. Game 5, if needed, in Milwaukee, Tuesday, April 30th. Game 6 in Indiana, Thursday, May 2nd. And a winner-take-all Game 7 in Milwaukee on Saturday, May the 4th. So I believe this one goes to me. So here we go. 5 months ago, the Milwaukee Bucks and Indiana Pacers fought over which team got to keep the game ball after Giannis Antetokounmpo scored 64 points and Oscar Tshiebwe scored 4. Now they'll fight for a spot in the Eastern Conference semifinals. It's the first playoff meeting between these two division rivals in 24 years, and it features 2 of the league's top 6 offenses. The Pacers won the regular season series 4-1, with one of those wins coming in Las Vegas during the in-season tournament semifinals, and the last of those 5 meetings having come January 3rd, before Indiana acquired Pascal Siakam. These 2 teams haven't met since one team made a major trade and the other made a coaching change. The top storyline, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo's health. The Bucks MVP candidate suffered a left calf strain in game number 79 and then missed the last 3. It's good news the injury wasn't worse, but it's being reported that he will not be ready for game 1 on Sunday night. The Bucks went 4-5 without Antetokounmpo this season, and they were outscored by 23 points per 100 possessions, scoring less than a point per possession, and 172 total minutes with Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton, and Brook Lopez on the floor without the 2-time Kia MVP. In 53 minutes with Antetokounmpo off the floor against the Pacers this season, the Bucks were outscored by 39 points. His ability to play and play big minutes in this series is critical. Keep your eyes on guard hunting. Both of these teams are much better on offense than on defense, and both of them have all-star point guards that can be attacked on the defensive end of the floor. The Bucks will try to make Tyrese Halliburton work, and if Antetokounmpo is healthy, that work will be difficult. Milwaukee likes to have its guards set screens for Antetokounmpo. The guard who will set the most screens is likely to be the one being guarded by Halliburton, whose screen defense has been an issue at times this season. With the Bucks now starting Patrick Beverley instead of Malik Beasley, they have a good defender to assign to Halliburton on the other end of the floor. The Pacers don't see a lot of guard screens, but they could have some success in putting Beasley and or Lillard in actions involving either Halliburton or Pascal Siakam. The one thing to watch for Milwaukee is transition defense. The Bucks saw defensive improvement as the season went on, partially because they were better in transition, allowing 12.2 fast break points per game after the All-Star break, down from 14.3 before the break. Of course, it's been a while since they faced the team that ranked 4th in fast break points a game. The Pacers were 23-4 when they registered at least 20 fast break points. For Indiana, it's their bench play. After returning from an injury absence in which he missed 10 of 11 games, Tyrese Halliburton had an effective field goal percentage of just 54%. Shooting, 32.4% from three-point range, down from 59.5%, 40% from 3 prior. But the Pacers still ranked second offensively. 120 points scored per 100 possessions over those last 35 games, and they were most efficient. 122.8 scored per 100 over that stretch with TJ McConnell on the floor. Pacers starting lineup outscored opponents by 6.4 points per 100 possessions. Good mark, but not a great one. It ranked 17th among 37 lineups that played at least 200 minutes. It was more than doubled by the marks of each of the Bucks' four most used lineups, plus 15.1 per 100 or better. Pacers had the league's second-ranked bench after the All-Star break, and if they're going to have a chance in this series, they will probably need to win the minutes with reserves on the floor. The one key number is 56%. The Pacers allowed their opponents to take 56% of their shots in the paint. That was the league's highest opponent rate by a huge margin. Indiana limited opponent three-point attempts but gave up a lot of shots near the basket, a strategy that didn't work out so well given that they finished 24th in defensive efficiency. Good news is that they got better at defending shots in the paint. 55.4% as they ranked 16th defensively over the last 5 weeks than they were prior at 59.3%. Antetokounmpo's 20.3 points in the paint per game led the league. But as a team, the Bucks ranked 28th in the percentage of their shots, and that was 43% that came in the paint. That rate was much higher, 52% against the Pacers. But the Bucks are a team that depends a lot on three-point shooting and connected on just 31.7% of their attempts from beyond the arc over the 5 regular season meetings. If Antetokounmpo were healthy, if it was a sure thing he'd be ready for game 2 or 3, or if the Bucks were facing a lesser opponent, they might still be favored here. But with only hope that he could return at some point in this series, it's hard to pick a team that hasn't been very good with their best player off the floor. The Pacers have played well against good teams all season, finishing with the second-best record, 15-11, in games played between the top 8 in the East. They have a potent offense, an improved defense, and a knowledge that they can beat this particular opponent. So I'm calling for the upset. Indiana wins the series in 6. Giannis, that's going to be the key. He better get healthy quick. He better get healthy PDQ, because if he doesn't, Indiana's winning this series in 6 games. MF, I know you're probably going to disagree with me on this, but I got Indiana in 6. But like I said, Giannis's health, that's the most important thing to watch for here.
I think that is going to be the key more than anything else. If Giannis comes back sooner, because it looks like he's not even going to play game 1. That's what it sounds like. I don't know if we got any inside information yet. They were talking about possibly that Giannis probably will not be able to go game 1. Okay, that's fine. If he can't go beyond that, like where we're talking that he's out game 2, game 3, game 4. Now I'm starting to believe, like you're believing, Anthony, and that is that I believe it's gonna go the wrong way. And when it's all said and done, you're right. They're gonna pull the upset. The good thing is that Damian Lillard is practicing, and it looks like he will be good to go for game 1. Giannis they said most likely is out. So it looks like he's not even playing game 1. It looks like they've already made it very clear he is not going. So at least for game 1, yeah, I'll give it to Indiana. I think that they're the better team. Through the course of the series, it depends. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Indiana, but I think it's gonna go 7. Because I do believe that at some point Giannis is going to come back. But the thing is, if he doesn't play in the series, then yes, absolutely. I'm not going to deny what you're saying, Florio. You're probably going to be absolutely right here. But it's kind of one of those where it can go a number of ways. I don't know for sure, but yeah, I'm going to play it safe, and I'm going to go with Indiana. Because, like you said, because of the Giannis injury. That's what's holding me from even saying Milwaukee. But I say Indiana. I'll say in 7. Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Indiana in 7 too, because like you said, it's the Giannis injury that's got a lot of people concerned. I mean, we know he's going to miss game 1, but it's beyond the series. that's in question. And Indiana, I mean, this season has just been they've been tough on all these teams that have winning records. So I'm going to go with Indiana in 7 games. So it's yours, Florio.
All right, and we have one more first round series to get into on the when it comes down to it, and we still don't have an opponent. I mean, right now, the New Orleans Pelicans are leading the Sacramento Kings 79-68 with a little over 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. So rest assured, it'll either be the Sacramento Kings or the New Orleans Pelicans that will be squaring off against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that will be the final the finals tip off on Sunday night. It'll probably be around 9:30, 10 o'clock or so. I do not have a schedule for this series as of yet. So it's the number 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder versus either the number 8 seed New Orleans Pelicans or the number 8 seed Sacramento Kings. So we don't have much information to work with, but MF, let's give it a try here.
Well, right now, if you're going to look at it, it looks like it is going to be New Orleans. They're well ahead now. They got a big lead on Sacramento. They're looking like they're well on their way to winning the series. It's not going to matter anyway. The number 1 seed, which is OKC, which is absolutely one of the biggest stories of the NBA season. Nobody had this on their bingo cards at the beginning of the year. I think a lot of people had Oklahoma City possibly fighting for a play-in or not even making the playoffs at all. And they had one of the greatest seasons you can ever had. Years ago, OKC was a dangerous team when they had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and all of them boys. Kendrick Perkins also a part of that squad too. That was the last time the Thunder were relevant in the NBA. All of a sudden, a pesky Canadian named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has had one of the most remarkable seasons in his career, and you could even make an argument that SGA should be the MVP of the NBA. I mean, that's how good he's been this year. Whatever the case may be, I got OKC winning this series, moving on to the next round. I don't want to give it an amount of games because I don't know how many games it would go. All I know is OKC's winning. So, Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm with Fletch on this one. I got to go with the OKC to win the series. Like you said, it's not going to matter who comes out of it. OKC is winning the series here, so, and I'm going to go 5 games. So it's yours, Florio.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I got Oklahoma City winning, regardless of whether it's New Orleans or Sacramento, and that's that story. So Oklahoma City wins that one. So with that being said, we move on from the NBA playoffs to the Stanley Cup playoffs. The matchups are all set, and we are going to lead it off with the series that will lead off the Stanley Cup playoffs at 5 p.m. tomorrow on TBS. And it's the 2 versus 3 in the Metropolitan Division, as it will be the number 2 seed in the Metropolitan Division, the Carolina Hurricanes, squaring off against the number 3 seed in the Metropolitan Division, the New York Islanders. Game 1 tomorrow afternoon or evening, 5 p.m. First 2 games in Carolina, of course. Game 1 is tomorrow. Game 2 will be on Monday night at 7:30. Then games 3 and 4 switch to New York. Game 3 will be Thursday at 7:30 in New York, and then Game 4 will be next Saturday, 2 p.m. In New York. Game 1 on TBS, games 2 and 3 on ESPN2, Game 4 will be back on TBS. Game 5 will be on April 30th in Carolina. Game 6, May 2nd in New York. And Game 7, May 4th in Carolina. So let's get into this series first. The second biggest favorite also comes from the Metropolitan Division as the Hurricanes, who had the second highest point total in the Eastern Conference, draw the New York Islanders, who are one of two teams with a negative goal differential entering the playoffs. As mentioned, the Hurricanes, in some people's eyes, not everybody's eyes, but in some people's eyes, are the Stanley Cup favorites. On paper, this does appear to be a major mismatch. The Islanders finished minus 17 in goal differential, and the Hurricanes were second to the Panthers with a plus 63 differential. Carolina was plus 23 in 5 versus 5 scoring difference, while the Islanders were actually quite solid at plus 8. Once again, massive special teams discrepancies are a big part of the equation here. Hurricanes finished with the second best power play percentage at almost 27% and led the league by nearly 2% in PK percentage at 86%. Islanders, meanwhile, had the worst penalty kill in the league, 71.5%. Power play was around league average, but opponents feasted with the man advantage, and Carolina appears very likely to do the same. Pyotr Kochetkov finished second in goals against and tied for 13th in save percentage. Islanders actually got a lot of saves from both Semyon Varlamov and Ilya Sorokin, who have played in a timeshare since Varlamov got healthy in mid-March. Varlamov should get the nod after playing very well down the stretch. 2 goalies at this time of the year is a luxury not often afforded to teams. But still, the Islanders are outgunned and overmatched here, especially in the special teams department. I got the Carolina Hurricanes winning this series. Carolina wins the series in 5 games. So, and now I give it to the Gary Thorne, to my Bill Clement, the Doc to my Enzo. MF, Doc, who do you like here?
I'm with you, Carolina Hurricanes. This should be a pretty easy series, to say the very least. I just feel like even when they made the move to get Jake Gansel from the Pittsburgh Penguins, that was kind of their all-in moment. They were starting looking really good and everything else. And at the end, I just feel like they got this. So yeah, I'm in total agreement here. I do believe they'll win it, and they'll win this one going away. So 5 games, that seems pretty credible enough. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm going to make it unanimous here, and I'm going to go with the Hurricanes in 5 games as well. So nothing more to say. Let's move on.
And MF, are you ready for an original 6 matchup?
Oh boy, let's do it.
We usually go with the New York Rangers, but in this case, we have a rule, and that rule is when we do our playoff commentary, if an original 6 series pops up at any time, it's
an automatic. It's an automatic.
Oh baby, and what a game we've got! What a series we got here! Whoa, ho, ho. It's the 2 versus the 3 in the Atlantic Division. The number 2 seed in the Atlantic Division, the Boston Bruins, Michael Bullock's Boston Bruins, squaring off against the number 3 seed in the Atlantic Division, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Game 1 tomorrow night, 8 p.m., TD Garden in Boston on TBS. Game 2, Monday night in Boston on ESPN. Series shifts to Toronto for games 3 and 4. Game 3 will be on Wednesday in Toronto on ESPN, 7 p.m. April 27th at 8 p.m. in Toronto on TBS. Game 5 in Boston on April 30. Game 6 in Toronto on May 2nd. Game 7, if it's needed, May 4th in TD Garden in Boston. MF, Doc, here we go. This is Toronto, Boston. Austin Matthews, 69 goal scorer, and that great young team going up against the Boston Bruins, a team that has had their number in the playoffs in recent years. Bruins, of course, we all remember last year had that record-setting team, but they choked in the first round against Florida. And Boston looking to right the wrong from last year. Toronto, we know their playoff disappointment history. They finally broke the jinx a year ago when they finally got out of the first round. But against the Boston Bruins, that's a tall order.
It is a tall order. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. I've been hearing from a lot of people about how this was a very interesting situation. Some people are saying that Boston ducked Tampa, and that's why they threw the final 2 games in order to get away from Tampa to face off against Toronto, a more easier opponent. And there's some people that are feeling like that might be a little more of that Toronto is not as easy as they thought it is, and everything else. Now, yes, you can say reputation, you can say the way that this thing's been laid out, with everything going on, that yeah, you can make a legitimate argument that can go a number of different ways. Um, all of a sudden, you get these type of situations, and you're thinking, all right, Boston should possibly win the series. That they should probably go a number of different ways, and you know, at the end of the day, I'll say this. If you are the Boston Celtics, or I should say the Boston Bruins, how are you going to handle this situation? At the end, at first you're thinking, all right, maybe they win the series, maybe they do this, maybe they do that. There's a lot going on. When you think about the grand scheme of things, yes, Toronto probably made a few interesting matchups. You're thinking, how's this going to play out? And now you're thinking, all right, it can go this way, could go that way, whatever. I think the Bruins are kind of lollygagging. And the thing is that I think what happened here is that they were just like, you know what? Fine. We're just going to coast into the playoffs. We're already in it. We got nothing to worry about. Doesn't matter who we get. We'll be ready. Honestly, if they would have played Tampa, I know that's a fight. That's a 7-game series. I honestly don't know if Boston gets out of the first round. Because it's Toronto, I think it's a more easier matchup. And not only do I have Boston winning the series, I got the Bruins winning this in 5. That's how confident I am. Yes, Matthews got all those points. And yes, he's really, really good. But I believe the Bruins are going to be a lot more smarter in the way they handle their goaltending that they didn't do a year ago, because they decided to lean on one guy. Then when they realized that their top guy got hurt, they switched to the other. And then by then it was already too little, too late. The Bruins choked. So I think you're going to get a healthy amount of Swayman and Allmark. I think they're going to get equal amount or opportunities where you're going to get to see them both play in this series. And at the end, I do believe that when this is all said and done, I do believe the Boston Bruins will win this series and move on to the next round of the playoffs. So there's really nothing more to say. So, Michael Bullock, it's yours. Bruins in 5 is my prediction.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I mean, I think they will right the wrong from last year. I think they will move on. And yeah, I think this is a different team from last year. So I'm going to go with the Bruins to win this series. I'm actually going to go 6 games in this one. Toronto, I think, could provide a little bit of problems, but I just think in the end, I think the Bruins will win this. So it's yours, Florio.
We've got an original 6 battle here between the Bruins and Maple Leafs as Toronto looks to slay a lot of playoff demons. Last year's Maple Leafs team won a playoff series for the first time since 2004, but got bounced by the eventual Eastern Conference champion Florida Panthers in the second round. These two teams were separated by 7 points during the regular season, as Toronto dropped 4 straight to finish the regular season. Boston only had 1 more win. This is another offense versus defense test, as the Maple Leafs led the Eastern Conference with 303 goals, but they gave up 39 more goals than the Bruins. It helped to have 69 goals from Austin Matthews, who had 12 more than any other player, but William Nylander was also a 40-goal scorer. Boston does have a choice to make in these playoffs, as both Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark ranked in the top 10 in goals against and top 7 in save percentage during the regular season. Two dependable goaltenders is a real luxury in the postseason, but picking the one to take the reins has to be keeping head coach Jim Montgomery up at night. Statistically, the Bruins allowed the third fewest 5 versus 5 goals with 135, while Toronto was around the middle of the pack with 168. Maple Leafs were the only NHL team to score 200 goals at 5-on-5 and finish plus 32 in that department. While the Bruins were plus 39, special teams could also be a big factor here, as Toronto had a bottom 10 PK percentage, but made up for it with a top 10 power play. Boston had a top 10 PK and a middle-of-the-pack power play unit. Goaltending is an annual question mark for the Leafs, and will be again here, as Ilya Samsonov had a goals against of 3.13 and a save percentage of just 89%. I think this series goes to distance. I think it's going to go 7, but I got the Boston Bruins ultimately winning it. So Boston Bruins win the series in 7 games. And those are the only 2 playoff games that you're going to see on Saturday. We move on to the Sunday slate of games, and it starts off at 12:30 on Sunday afternoon, as it will be the first wild card team, Tampa Bay Lightning, squaring off against the number 1 seed in the Atlantic Division, the Florida Panthers. Series starts on Sunday afternoon at 12:30 in Florida on ESPN. Game 2 will be on Tuesday night, 7:30 in Florida on ESPN2. Game 3 in Tampa, Thursday, April 25th at 7 p.m. on TBS. And then next Saturday, April 27th, Game 4 in Tampa, 5 p.m. on TBS. Game 5 in Florida on April 29th. Game 6 in Tampa on May 1st. And a winner-take-all Game 7, if needed, on May 4th. So, Michael Bullock, we have an all-Florida matchup here. Tampa Bay and Florida. Florida, of course, the defending Eastern Conference champion, looking to get back to the Stanley Cup Finals. Definitely one of the favorites to do so. But they're going up against a very, very tough Tampa Bay Lightning team with so much Stanley Cup experience. So, Bullock, who you got? Tampa Bay versus Florida.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good one here. You got Tampa with so much experience, so much against the Florida Panthers, the defending Eastern Conference champions. This is another series I think that's going to go the distance. Now, who I think is going to win? This is a tough one, but I gotta go with Tampa. I just think because of the experience and just how dangerous they can be. So Tampa in 7. It's yours, Florio.
This is that rack the brain series here. The Panthers won the Atlantic Division with 110 points and would be the number 3 seed in a traditional postseason setting, as the New York Rangers and Carolina Hurricanes finished with more points. This Sunshine State battle will actually feature the last 2 Eastern Conference champions, as the Panthers played in the Cup Finals last year and the Lightning lost to Colorado in 2022. But it was actually Tampa's 3rd straight final appearance after lifting the Cup in 2020 and 2021. The Lightning finished with 98 points, but they did outscore Florida by 23 goals during the regular season. However, they also allowed 68 more goals. So this series features an offense versus defense element that should make for a quality matchup. Only the Capitals scored fewer 5-on-5 goals during the regular season among playoff teams than Florida, who actually got a bit unlucky on the scoring front. They had more high-danger chances at 5-on-5 than the Lightning, but couldn't capitalize. They had the 5th lowest shooting percentage at 5-on-5, while Tampa had the 7th highest. We'll see if the Bolts can lock it down defensively and flex their 5-on-5 scoring muscles. If Tampa can tighten up defensively, it could be an interesting series, as the Panthers allowed the fewest 5-on-5 goals with just 119. Tampa allowed the 5th most with 190, and it was actually minus 19 in 5-on-5 scoring. If Andrei Vasilevsky, who has a 237 goals against and a 921 save percentage in 110 career playoff games, can turn it up like he has in postseasons past, the Lightning can absolutely pull the upset. Keep an eye on Tampa's league-leading power play as well, as the Lightning's 28.6% success rate easily led the league. Florida cashed in at 23.5% and also finished one spot behind Tampa in penalty-killing success. Special teams may be a huge factor as well. Obviously, Bullock has left us for the evening, so no surprise there. So MF and I will take you the rest of the way. Tampa Bay wins. I think Bullock's right. I think Tampa Bay wins this series, and I think they do it in 6 games. But I would not at all be surprised if Florida were to win this series. So any other team that I would feel more confident about, I would go with Florida. But right now, I gotta go with that experience at Tampa Bay. But like I said, if Florida were to win this series, I would not at all be surprised. Easily the most toughest of all the series. So with that, MF, Florida and Tampa. Oh, who you got?
Yeah, this is going to be rough. I gotta go. I gotta go with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I just feel like they're the more superior team. Look, they got into the playoffs. They had nothing to worry about, and now this is the tradition that they always get all of their better players back. You know, they have this weird thing about that you can stash your players until a certain time when they're injured, they're on IL. And normally, their better players normally come in around this time of the season, and they know how to manipulate the system. And this is one of the things that I wish the NHL can address during the off season, because there's another team that's doing the same thing, and it kind of gives like an unfair advantage in my eyes. As much as I despise the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I do not like this team with a passion beyond me, but I got to go with them knocking out Florida in the first round. So, Florio, is yours. And I do have them winning in 6.
All right. Here we go, MF. This any other year, this would have been our series. I mean, we've seen these two play off. We've called so many of these two series over the last number of years. The second wild card, the Washington Capitals, squaring off against the number 1 seed in the Metropolitan Division and your President's Trophy winning New York Rangers. Game 1, Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. in Madison Square Garden on ESPN. Game 2 will be Tuesday night, back at the Garden, 7 p.m. on ESPN. Series shifts to Washington. Game 3 will be next Friday, April 26th in DC, 7 o'clock on TNT. And Game 4 will be next Sunday, 8 p.m. in DC on TBS. If a Game 5 is needed, MSG, May 1st. Game 6, May 3rd in Washington. And Game 7, May 5th in New York. So let me start this off. The Rangers are easily the biggest favorite of the first round. The tandem of Igor Shesterkin and Jonathan Quick played extremely well in net, but the Capitals have a borderline top 15 goaltender of their own from this season in Charlie Lindgren, who finished tied for 13th in save percentage with Quick and 16th in goals against average. Shesterkin was 11th and Quick was 13th. Offensively, though, these teams are not very comparable. The Rangers scored 282 goals and finished plus 53 in goal differential, whereas the Capitals scored just 220 goals and finished minus 37 in differential. The New York Islanders are the only other team in the postseason with a negative goal differential. That being said, the Rangers only finished plus 1 in 5-on-5 goal differential. They made a lot of hay in the special teams department, with the third best power play percentage at 26.4% and the third best penalty kill percentage at 84.5%. Capitals were in the middle of the pack in both areas. MVP candidate Artemi Panarin finished the season with 120 points, and the leading scorer for the Caps, Dylan Strome, only had 67 points. Alexander Ovechkin had 31 goals, but his pace really slowed down in terms of chasing down Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal-scoring record. Ovechkin did play much better in the latter portion of the season to help the Capitals to this point, but they are sorely lacking firepower with only 3 20-goal scorers. Lindgren will have to be insanely good to overcome the lack of offense, And the Capitals are going to have to find cracks in the Rangers' special teams armor to have any hope. I got the New York Rangers winning this series. I got them winning in 5 games. And it's the first time they met since that epic second-round series in 2015 when the Rangers came back from 3-1 to win the series. And they split the 4-game regular season series. So in any other year for MF and I, this would have been our series. But that original 6, that's automatic. That's top priority. So this is easily the number 2 series here because of the history and the whole 9. So New York Rangers, they begin their quest for that elusive Stanley Cup. It's been 30 years since they won it. And 30 years ago, they won the President's Trophy. They had the best record. Could the Lightning strike twice? MF and I certainly hope so. But I think they'll get out to a strong start here. I got the Rangers winning this in 5. So with that being said, MF, our beloved Rangers, they won the President's Trophy. And now let's see if these Rangers can duplicate the history of 30 years ago.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I agree with that. I do believe New York should win the series. I do got them winning in 5 as well. And the thing is like you said, that first line is unbelievable. I mean, when you get Perry Panarin, you got Alexis Lafreniere, and you get Chris Kreider, as your top 3 guys on the first line, and then you get that second line with Mika Zibanejad, with a Victor Trocheck, with all the guys that they got, and then the defensive line, like you said, it's been 5-on-5. They're really, really good, strong, powerful, everything else. But where they make their bread and butter is in the power play, like you said. One of the key factors, and they always say that whenever a team wins the Stanley Cup, is that you want to have a top 10 offense and defense on power play, penalty kill, and power play. The Rangers are top 3 in both categories, and they are plus, I believe they are a plus 17 5-on-5. That is the highest rank than any team in the playoff right now. They are, without a doubt, the most complete squad we've ever had. Now, there might be some defensive hiccups that I think that's got us concerned. But if Igor Shesterkin and Jonathan Quick keeps the momentum that they've had all year long, those 55 wins or 56 wins 55. That the Rangers have, 55, right?
55, a franchise record, and 114 points, also a franchise record.
If they keep that momentum going into these playoffs, there is no doubt in my mind the New York Rangers will hoist their 5th Stanley Cup.
Oh, I hope so.
In franchise history.
Oh, I hope so.
That's not just hyperbole. That's not me just being a Ranger homer.
No.
Because I'm not. I just want to allude that.
I'm excited.
Yes, I am a Ranger fan. And I'm pulling very hard. But the facts are the facts. And let's lay the facts out right now. On paper, there is no team that can threaten New York. There isn't. At least in the Eastern Conference, there is no team that threatens the New York Rangers. If they play the way they've been playing, the way that they've been doing all season long, if Igor keeps standing on his head, if Panarin starts getting the goal scoring, if they continue that domination on the power play and then gets a couple of shorties along the way, shorthanded goals. Oh, by the way, they were top in the league with shorthanded goals. I think they got 23 of them this year. So There's no doubt in my mind the New York Rangers will win this series. They'll win it in 5. But more importantly, as long as they get stronger and better and more fluent, like they have been in the regular season, there's no doubt in my mind that this team not only could win the Stanley Cup, but will win the Stanley Cup this year.
Well,
Anthony, it's back to you.
You have any idea how excited you just made me? I mean, MF
That's
30
why
years.
everybody has them as the odds-on favorite right now. They are the odds-on favorite in Vegas.
I agree, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. And this is the best shot we've had at a winner in a long time. I mean, probably since the last time we won the President's Trophy. So, I mean, but all in all, man, 30 years ago, you got to taste that Stanley Cup. Myself, I did not, because I'll admit it, back then I was a Bruins fan. I will admit that. But about 2 to 3 years later, I don't know what it was about that team, but I switched allegiances. I went from being a Bruin fan to a Ranger fan right around 96, 97. What put it over the top for me is that 97 team when they made that improbable run to the conference finals, and when they had Gretzky and Messier and all those guys. That's when I'm like, okay, this is my team now. And I've stuck with them. And if this is to happen, MF, this would be your second. For me, it would be my first. And I'll tell you what. You thought I was emotional when Cody Rhodes finished the story at WrestleMania and won the title. You have no idea how emotional I will be if this team wins it all. To finally get that Stanley Cup as a Ranger fan that I've been waiting for since I became a Ranger fan. What a thrill it would be, man. Oh, my goodness. So that's all I can say on that. So, all right. So let's switch gears now to the Western Conference, and since Bullock is gone, so this will I believe this one would go to MF. So all right, so let's go to the West now, and we'll start it off with the series where the opening faceoff will be at 7 p.m. on Sunday night on ESPN2. Central Division. We got the number 2 seed in the Central Division, the Winnipeg Jets, versus the number 3 seed in the Central, the Colorado Avalanche. Games 1 and 2 in Winnipeg. Game 1 in Winnipeg on Sunday night at 7 on ESPN2. Game 2, Tuesday, 9:30 in Winnipeg, ESPN. Game 3 shifts to Colorado on next Friday in Denver, TNT, 10 p.m. Sunday, April 28th, we have a special 2:30 face-off in Denver on TNT. Game 5, April 30 in Winnipeg. Game 6, May 2nd in Colorado. Game 7, May 4th in Winnipeg. So, MF, Colorado and Winnipeg, very intriguing first-round matchup as we kick off the Western Conference portion.
Yeah, no doubt. Very intriguing, very exciting. This is going to be a great battle. I had to feel like this is Colorado's to lose. Now, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people are picking Winnipeg, and rightfully so. Winnipeg's definitely got it. But Colorado, man, yes, did they take a step back? Absolutely. But this is still the Avalanche, and they still got most of the core there. Remember, just a few years ago, I think like 3 years ago, they won the Stanley Cup. So, this is not a, fly-by-night type thing. They definitely have a great chance of winning the Stanley Cup. If they put everything together, yes, some things might have to go their way. But right now, I got to feel like as much as I like Winnipeg and they're a really good team, I gotta go with the Colorado Avalanche. I really think they're gonna do it. I don't know why I got the Colorado Avalanche winning this series, and I think it's gonna go the distance. I got it in 7. So Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. Another tough. This is definitely the tough series in the West here, no question. This is the only first and MF. You have a good. You make a great argument. This is the only first round series in which the lower seed is the favorite, as the Avs will start on the road in Manitoba. Not having home ice could be a big deal for Colorado, as they posted a league best 31-9-1 record in Denver. They were only 19-16-6 on the road. Winnipeg, meanwhile, had the second most road wins among Western Conference teams at 25-13-3. There are so many interesting storylines in this series. Connor Hellebuck should win his second career Vezina trophy after putting forth a 37-win season with a 239 goals against and a 921 save percentage, but he's likely to have his hands full against the NHL's most dynamic offense. The Avs led the league with 304 goals and were one of two teams with two 100-point scorers. Nathan McKinnon finished second to Tampa's Nikita Kucherov with 140 points, and Mikko Rantanen had 104 points. Colorado also has the most dynamic defenseman on the offensive side in Cale Makar, who finished just behind Quinn Hughes with 90 points. Hughes had 92, but played in 5 more games. Winnipeg's leading scorer was Mark Scheifele with just 72 points. The Jets win with defense as the only team in the league to allow fewer than 200 goals for a plus 60 goal differential. Colorado's goal differential was plus 50, largely because Alexander Georgiev wasn't very good in net. Georgiev had a 302 goals against and an 897 save percentage. Colorado's offense certainly covered up for some lackluster performance in net. Can they do that here against the Jets and Hellebuck? That is arguably the most compelling storyline of the first round. MF, I agree. I got the Colorado Avalanche also winning this series. Colorado wins it in 6 games. Next series, and this one will wrap up the Sunday slate of action. 10 p.m. face-off in Vancouver, as it will be the first wild card in the Western Conference. The Nashville Predators squaring off against the number 1 seed in the Pacific Division, the Vancouver Canucks. Game 1 in Vancouver, Sunday night at 10 p.m. on ESPN. Game 2, Tuesday night in Vancouver, also at 10 p.m. on ESPN2. Game 3, Friday, 7:30 in Nashville on TBS. Game 4, Sunday, 5 p.m. in Nashville, TBS. Game 5 in Vancouver, if need be, April 30. Game 6, if need be, in Nashville on May 3. And Game 7, if need be, in Vancouver on May 5th. So, as we get into this series, what a season it has been for the Vancouver Canucks. Their only playoff appearance since 2015 came in the COVID bubble back in 2020, and they lost in the second round. Coach Rick Tocchet had the interim tag stripped at the end of last season and led the team to its first 50-win season in over a decade. This is a really solid all-around team, but so are the Nashville Predators, just without the same dynamism on offense. The Canucks were plus 56 in goal differential, and the Predators were plus 21. Nashville actually won more games on the road than at home, so this will not be an easy series, even though the Canucks had 10 more points during the regular season. As the line implies, this should be a good battle. That being said, Thatcher Demko was a top 5 netminder by goals against and save percentage, while UC Saros had a pretty average season on the whole. Demko missed over a month from early March to mid-April, so he is actually pretty fresh now after getting a lot of work early in the season. He wound up playing 51 games while Saros played 64. Demko was able to return for a couple of games to shake off the rust before the playoff pairings were set. The Canucks actually finished plus 51 in 5-on-5 goal differential, one of the most dominant showings in the NHL. Predators were plus 15. Vancouver's fairly pedestrian special teams still ranked higher than Nashville's, so that doesn't even appear to be an advantage. In terms of first-round series prices, now that Demko is back, the Canucks are my favorite one for this round. I got the Vancouver Canucks winning this series. I got them winning it in 5 games. MF, what says you when it comes to Nashville and Vancouver?
I actually do agree with you, but I do believe that it will be a 6-gamer. But I do have Vancouver winning and advancing to the next round. So yeah, Anthony, it's yours.
Next series, and it will actually start on Monday night. The second wild card team, believe it or not, the second wild card team happens to be your reigning, defending, undisputed Stanley Cup champions, the Vegas Golden Knights. and they're going to start their title defense on the road against the best team, the number 1 seed in the Western Conference from the Central Division, the Dallas Stars. Game 1, Monday night in Dallas, 9:30 on ESPN. Game 2, Wednesday in Dallas, 9:30 ESPN. Game 3 will be next Saturday, April 27th in Vegas, 10:30 on TBS. The rest of the games, time to be determined. But the dates, Game 4 will be on Monday, April 29th. And then May 1st will be Game 5 in Dallas. Game 4 in Vegas. Game 5 in Dallas, May 1st. Game 6 in Vegas, May 3rd. Game 7 in Dallas, May 5th. Oh, boy. MF. Oh, Vegas. A year ago, they won the Stanley Cup, and we saw the most dominant Stanley Cup clinching victory ever when they absolutely obliterated Florida to win the Stanley Cup at T-Mobile Arena last June.
Yeah.
Now they're the underdogs, and now they're basically the 8th seed, and now they got to go up against a Dallas Stars team that are just as high on many people's radar and another Cup favorite. Perhaps many say they might be the favorites to come out of the West.
They're the favorites to come out of the West, but if you're Vegas, this is the other team I was talking about that I really did not that I don't like right now. And here's the reason why. A lot of their key players have not been on the ice. They've been injured until now. Because of this clause in the contract or part of the CBA, that they could store some of their bigger names as injuries until this playoff, and then they can release them. It's like an IL. So they were on injured reserve. They're not allowed to play during this time, but now that they're back, you're going to get to see a lot of their big names. Mark Stone will be back by then. You got some other players, even Patrick Laine, who just signed with them. He will be available for the Vegas Golden Knights. And this is going to make the team that much more dangerous. So, yes, a lot of people are going to start saying, oh, but it's, Dallas is dominating everything else. I'm worried about this matchup. And because of the guys who are coming back for Vegas, who are guys who've been there, Stanley Cup winners, and really the creme a la creme, some of their stars are coming back just in time for the postseason. It makes it a lot more difficult, a lot more dangerous than anything else. So, yes, I'm going to say Dallas wins the series, but anybody who thinks this is going to go maybe 4 or 5, you're going to be sadly mistaken, guys. This is going to go at least 6. I would not be stunned if it goes to distance. So give me the Dallas Stars to win it, which means we'll have new Stanley Cup champions this year. But, yeah, I'm not as overly convinced, so we'll see how it plays out. So, Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Let me just get my notes here. All right. Let's see. All right. Vegas runs into old friend Peter DeBoer in this one as the reigning Cup champs and head coach Bruce Cassidy enter the postseason as a slight underdog. None of the first round series in the Western Conference are outlandishly priced like 2 of the Eastern Conference series are. So it'll be interesting to see if these live up to the hype. Dallas finished 1 point behind the New York Rangers for the President's Trophy and had the same number of wins as the Winnipeg Jets. Vegas comfortably made the playoffs as the final wildcard team with 98 points, 15 points fewer than Dallas. The reigning champs never really seemed to get on track and put it all together. Plus, they battled a litany of injuries during the season. Returns from injury are a huge story here, as the Golden Knights have come under fire from some fans and analysts for their use of their long-term injured reserve salary cap loopholes. As MF said, Mark Stone is expected to return for the series after not playing most of the year, and he could inject a lot of life into this roster. Despite the injuries and inconsistent goaltending, Vegas finished plus 13 in 5-on-5 scoring, quite a few steps below Dallas at plus 32, as the Stars scored more goals and allowed fewer goals. They also graded extremely well in a lot of other 5-on-5 metrics. including the third fewest high danger chances allowed. Like so many of the league's top teams, Dallas also shined both ways on special teams, which represents yet another advantage over Vegas, who was in the middle of the pack in both areas. But one potential advantage for the Knights could come in net, where Logan Thompson and Aiden Hill both had better goals against and save percentage marks than Dallas's tandem of Jake Ottinger and Scott Wedgwood. Ottinger really struggled in last year's playoffs with a 306 goals against and an 895 save percentage after playing a tremendous series in 2022 against Calgary. Play between the pipes could be the great equalizer here. Dallas wins the series, but I'm going to make the bold prediction. It goes to distance. It's going 7. Dallas wins. And we move on to our final series. And what a compelling series this is right here. The number two seed in the Pacific Division, the Edmonton Oilers, versus the number 3 seed in the Pacific Division, the Los Angeles Kings. Series starts Monday night at 10 p.m. This will be the final series to start. It starts Monday night at 10 p.m. in Edmonton at Rogers Place on ESPN2. Game 2 will be on Wednesday, 10 p.m. on TBS. It'll air immediately following AEW Dynamite on Wednesday night. How about that? How about that for a nice little doubleheader, huh? That'll be on Wednesday, and then Game 3 will be in LA on Friday, 10:30 on TBS. Game 4 Sunday, April 28th, 10:30 in Los Angeles on TBS. Game 5, if necessary, in Edmonton on May 1st. Game 6, if necessary, in LA on May 3rd. And then Game 7, May 5th in Edmonton. So let's wrap this thing up with this. These two teams were only separated by 5 points during the regular season, as the Oilers finished with 104 and the Kings had 99. Connor McDavid wrapped up another strong regular season with 132 points, and Leon Draisaitl had 106. No Kings player finished with more than 75 points, but a strong season from Cam Talbot and a sound defensive strategy propelled Los Angeles to a good year. The thing about this year's Oilers is that they finally got good goaltending, and that explains the series price here. Edmonton was plus 40 in 5-on-5 goal differential and actually left some goals out there, as they scored 193 but had an expected total of 213. Kings also left some goals out there with 165, but an expected total of 181. LA was 5th in 5-on-5 goals against at 143 and finished plus 22 in goal differential. In a lot of ways, this series could come down to Talbot, who was 7th in goals against average and tied for 10th in save percentage, and Stuart Skinner, who was 25th in save percentage but 14th in goals against. The Oilers were plus 57 overall in goal differential, and the Kings were plus 41. The other storyline here is a dangerous Oilers power play. 26.3%, which was 4th, against a stellar Kings penalty kill. 84.6%, which was good for 2nd. The star power edge unquestionably goes to the Edmonton Oilers, but the Los Angeles Kings seem to be a more balanced bunch and may very well have the safer goaltending between the two teams. Zach Hyman scored 54 goals, so Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Hyman combined for 127 of the team's 294 goals. The Kings had 5 different players with at least 20 goals. Do they have enough firepower to overcome Edmonton's stars? Will Talbot, who actually spent 4 seasons with the Oilers, keep up his current pace well enough to pull the upset? For some, it may be the toughest of the series to handicap because, you're paying a premium with the Oilers and their stars. But they deserve to be favored, and I believe they should advance. So I'm going with the Edmonton Oilers to win this series, and I think Edmonton wins the series in 6 games. So nothing more to say except take us home, MF.
Tough series to call, but I'm in total agreement. Edmonton should win the series, and I do have it go in 6. So Anthony, let's call it.
Yes, indeed. And there were some other things that we were considering, but after all of this, I think it's fair time that we call it a night here. So I know that there is week 4 of the UFL, but MF can recap the UFC pay-per-view on another show in the future. So a lot to get into here tonight. So we're just gonna call it a night here. So that will put the bow on this. So So with that, we will be back with you tomorrow night, 10:30, only this time on MF's channel, Braves Fan 95, as it will be the Cerebral Smack Talk, as it will be Friday Night SmackDown. We got a big show. Friday Night SmackDown, AEW Collision, and we will preview the AEW Dynasty pay-per-view. That'll be on Saturday. And then on Monday, we got Ridiculously Raw, as we will get into Monday Night Raw and my Tony's take on the TNA Rebellion pay-per-view. And then Wednesday, we got Wednesday Night Madness, hosted by MF, as we will have AEW, as we will have NXT, week 1 of Spring Breakin', and AEW Dynamite, the fallout from Dynasty. Oh, and we're also going to have the Dynasty review as well. So that'll be on Wednesday, and then for next week, we'll see if we have a show next week. Because the playoffs will be in swing and the draft will still be going on, the NFL draft. That'll come the week after. So, and then I know the schedule will be coming out. So big things are coming, friends. They really are. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk over on MF channel, Braves Fan 95. I am your host, Anthony Florio, and I am signing off on behalf of all of us here at TXN Sports World. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, Michael Bullock, and of course, always and forever, our First Lady, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Saturday, and until tomorrow night, for the Cerebral Smack Talk you've been watching, TXN Sports World, right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody. Bye.